Told you I was doing this. To Butterfly is one of my favorite albums of all time. And of course, a lot of idiots give it a lot of scrutiny because they don't understand music or like the depth of music that comes into things. And the fact that music began as a way of expression and expressing emotions and feelings and educating people. But I digress. Real quick, if you've never heard this album, leave this video. Do not come back. I'm being for real. Leave this video. Go listen. Go dissect it. Go do whatever you need to do with it. Because I've heard this album a million times in my life, ever since I was a young lad. And I've grown with it, and it's something that's never left me. It's one of my favorites of all time. And I know, real quick, before I even continue, I'm tired. I just came back from work. Long day. Do a lot of shit. I'll be out here living and shit, you know? You know what I mean? Kids soon. Give me congratulations in the comments, kids soon. You know what I mean? But yeah, thank y'all for the love in the last video. This is mainly the reason why I'm doing this, because my last video was kind of like a brief overview of how uneducated some people can be when it comes to like the impacts of the words and their impact of like, I understand a lot of the internet is trolling at this current time, you know, trying to be funny by being disrespectful. But as somebody who was around a lot of people who are heavily influenced by this current generation, this current monolith, more so, of like trolling and trying to be funny and rude as a way to like, you know, be cool, I guess, it's negatively impacted a lot of things. And one of the biggest things that is negatively impacted is music, because no matter who you are talking to, it could be the greatest album of all time. There's going to be at least a subsection of people that are going to simply hate on it or find a way to hate on it just so they can have traction and attention and some sort of like dopamine fix. And recently, To Pimp a Butterfly has been under scrutiny by some people who don't understand music whatsoever. But let's get straight into it, y'all. First things first, you understand the theme of this album and the direction when you start off with Wesley's Theory. Wesley's Theory, if you can't tell by the title, is him speaking about what happened to Wesley Snipes in a very creative and interesting way by multiple different perspectives. If you don't know what happened to Wesley Snipes later in his life, he was arrested and he went to jail for tax evasion. I don't know if he's currently still in jail for that, but you know, one of the most famous actors of all time, especially during the like mid to late 90s, very popular, a very popular man, and then got him with tax evasion like that. And I don't understand the full story of it, but yeah, Wesley's Theory, though, as a song, to continue to give my praise to this album, I'll be remiss if I do not mention the names of Thundercat, Soundwave, and Terrace Martin. Terrace Martin, it was I guess you could say, I don't know if this is the right word to say, he was the composer of the jazz aspects of this. Soundwave was the producer, and Thundercat also did a lot of the instruments on this album. It plays so well with what Kendrick is doing through every song. And I have a few different lyrics up on my phone because it lets me truly dissect it in a better way. Starting off with Wesley's Theory. First things first, it starts off with an amazing sample from Boris Gardiner. I don't know if I'm saying the name right. It might just be Gardner, but I'm not going to sing this on camera. Who will deny that you and I and every is a star? Hit me! And it's such a memorable and infectious, you know, like beginning to this album. You don't expect something like that to be so like, it's so powerful to listen to somebody sing this. But coming into this song, he goes crazy, starts off talking about all these different things. And at first you think he's just talking about nothing, but you realize that he's in the perspective of a man that comes from a poverty-stricken household or a poverty-stricken community in general, who's made it out, is starting to make money, and these are his initial thoughts as a young man. He starts off with, when I get signed, homie, I'ma act the fool, hit the dance floor, strobe lights in the room, snatch a little secretary bitch for the homies, blue-eyed devil with a fat-ass monkey. Which is like, of course, he's not thinking, oh yeah, this is fine. Like, obviously he delivers it really well, but this isn't like him being himself. This is him from the perspective of a man, like I just said, getting a lot of money, get a lot of increments, and not thinking about consequences of his actions, just being happy to be in this sort of thing. And when you were an African American who was starting to get money, a lot of things start to get thrown at you and flaunted at you because they feel like they can take advantage of you with your money. Kanye West has also spoken about this before. When you have money, I don't remember the exact line, but he basically was saying, when you have money, they throw you out the store, but when you don't have money, they're like, come, please buy more. You know what I mean? When you have the money, they're like, come, please buy more. So it's basically like they want you to spend more money and take advantage of you, but if you don't have the money, they don't even want you there. So no matter what, in every way, they're using you or trying to break you down when you are a black man in the system. And then he also says, when I get signed, homie, I'm going to buy a strap straight from the CIA, sat it on my lap, took a few M16s to the hood. He's basically speaking about another thing that has to do with like how basically how ghettos were created and why ghettos were created and why certain things are around in certain, like in every ghetto in America, where it's like, you go to a ghetto or any poverty-stricken community of any city, you're going to see a liquor store, you're going to see a gun store. Those two things are going to be prevalent. And the reason why those two things are prevalent is because back in the day, and currently, to be honest, the government has always tried to put things in place around these poverty-stricken places to keep people of color specifically in those areas by making them commit crimes and, like, you know, succumb to alcoholism. That is a big thing that's happened over time. And, you know, it's just such a cool way to talk about it. And then he also says, hit the press with a Cuban link on my neck, uneducated, but I got $1 million check like that. Coming into this, you know, album review, the biggest thing I wanted to speak about, though, was a few different points. First, I started off, of course, with the intro, which I believe is one of the greatest intros of all time in rap or in music in general, with Wesley's Theory, because it attacks what this album wants to attack so well, while also just like adding so much more to like what people thought Kendrick could do at the time in regards to, like, you know, music or even just like creation. Like I said earlier, shout out to all those amazing composers and producers that they had on this album, but at the end of the day, this was his vision that he was able to bring to life, and he did it amazingly. And of course, this album has a lot of hit songs. You can name songs like King Kunta, All Right, stuff like that. Even like Black of the Berry, which I will mention a little bit. But the songs I really want to focus on are, or even I is a hit song, but For Free, I want to bring up Institutionalized, I want to bring up You, and I want to bring up How Much a Dollar Cost and Mortal Man. So first things first, we're going to start off with Institutionalized. I feel like this song is extremely, it's in a very weird space when it comes to a lot of people, because it's speaking about what I spoke about before, where it was talking about how systemic racism has left people of color, specifically people of color in like impoverished neighborhoods, either in jail, as institutionalized means, or in the ghetto doing crime, because obviously, like I said before, every block in the ghetto has either a liquor store or a gun store or something that sells. Like, for example, you can be like, oh, but my block, you know, we got corner stores and stuff like that. What do they sell at the corner store? They got beer in there. They got cigars in there. They got cigarettes in there. They got all that shit in there. They got wraps for you to buy blunts so you can roll up weed. All that shit is set there on purpose so you are able to do stuff that keeps you in that same exact situation. I'm not saying I have an overall, like, objection to people who smoke weed or drink alcohol. I'm just saying having that in areas where people are in poverty struggling just leads people to, you know, focus on them as vices rather as like things to have during social activity. You understand what I'm saying? But this is basically what Institutionalized is coming from or talking about. For example, it says, if I was president, I'd pay my mama's rent, free my homies and them, bulletproof my Chevy doors, lay in the White House and get high, Lord, whoever thought. And then it says, Massa, take these chains off me. So they're basically saying, what he's saying here is basically, regardless of anything, that, like, you know, yeah, slavery has not been around for over 100 years, but that 500-year period of slavery, and then the 100 years plus after that, when it was Jim Crow and all that stuff going on, it continued to work. And even after Jim Crow, people like Ronald Reagan were making systems to, continue to bring down people of color, specifically black people in America. So it still feels like they have chains because, like every single opportunity, you have to work 10 times harder than a white man to get it. That's just the simple truth of it if you're a person of color or a foreign person at all in this country, because a white man is always going to look out for a fellow white man in the situation. And that's what that's what he basically means when he's saying, "Massa, take these chains off me." Because you think about all of his different demands that if he was president, it's all stuff to just keep his family safe and then stay out of this situation and get out of like a street type situation. This is just like, and then he also speaks about a lot in this album where he's saying like, I'm like viewed in such a high regard because I was able to make it out of there, but I still have the mindset of somebody who was there. And also people who are there think that there are only very few like ways to get out. You're either a high value, high level drug dealer, you are either an athlete, or you are a rapper. Those are the only three ways that people from that area believe that they can make it out at the time. I mean, he speaks about that extensively, and it's just a beautiful song that he made here. And also, if you haven't heard it before, I'm gonna keep saying this. This is probably my favorite album of all time. One of the best albums ever made. These Walls is a great song as well. I'm not gonna do it in this video specifically, but I'm gonna head over to You, which is probably one of the most emotionally strong and driven songs Kendrick Lamar has ever made. This is him speaking about a time where he was in a hotel room, screaming, losing his mind, drinking alcohol because one of his best friend's little brothers was shot, and he was not incompetent at the time, so he was not able to see him before he unfortunately passed away due to a surgery gone wrong situation. And he felt responsible, and he felt like he did not do enough for this person that he promised he would do a lot for. And this whole album is him speaking in third person to himself, basically dissecting himself as a person. The first time I heard this song, I can tell you right now, I froze because I was not expecting it at this point. Just to give you like a run through of how the album goes before this, just so you know, it's a shock. Like, it is genuinely a shock, because it goes from these walls, if these walls could talk, I can hear the rains when you cry, gold is inside of you. Then it's bro, I went like this. I was like 14. I was not prepared for that shit, but I'm happy I stuck around because this is an amazing song, and it's so crazy that he was able to write something like this and then produce it and then release it and then have features on it. Like, he has SZA's vocals on this song, which I did not know until very recently. He has Bilal on this song. He has Jessica Vilmas and Who Are I? I guess this is like this is the housekeeping lady who's speaking in Spanish. This song starts off with loving you, not loving you, 100 proof. And then this is him screaming at himself. I have a few different things that I can name that he says really quick. This is like the biggest part that he speaks about what he's really mad at himself for. He says, your brother, you ain't no brother, you ain't no disciple, you ain't no leader. I never liked you, never. Wait, where is it at? Oh no, I'm reading the wrong part. Sorry. It says, you ain't no brother, you ain't no disciple, you ain't no friend. A friend never leave Compton for profit or leave his best friend, little brother. You promised you'd watch him before they shot him. Where was your antennas? On the road, bottles and bitches. You FaceTimed him one time. That's unforgiving. You even FaceTimed instead of a hospital visit. Guess you thought he'd recover well. Third surgery, you couldn't stop the bleeding for real. Then he died, got himself, will say you fucking failed. You ain't try. So this could be taken a lot of different ways. Also, he speaks later on. It says, and if these mirrors could talk, it'd say you gotta go. And if I told you secrets, the world would know money can't stop a suicidal weakness. So this is a really like, there's a few different ways you can view this song. First things first, obviously he's talking about himself. There's nobody else he would talk to in this moment, especially mentioning, the fact that he was trying to look after his best friend's little brother after his best friend passed away. He spoke about that on Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. Go see my review on that song, you know what I mean? One of the best songs of all time. But that young man passed away, and he felt like he failed in every single aspect. And since he grew up in a world that was in poverty, and also he didn't grow up. I'm not saying his parents did bad at all, but just the environment itself does not produce the idea of grief in a very good or healthy way. So this is the way that he handles grief. The way that he handles grief. He speaks about this a lot, and Mr. Around the Big Steppers. But the way that he handles grief in this moment is losing his mind, drinking alcohol, and loathing himself, thinking about killing himself. And that is also something that is put into the system of building the ghettos in America. They want people in poverty to end their own lives. That is what it is. Because they don't want to be blamed for everybody in poverty dying. That's what it is. They put all these different vices for you to end up losing your mind or have it change your entire brain chemistry. And then once you're on these vices with a different brain chemistry, they want you to either commit crime or end your own life. And I feel like he attacked that while also attacking himself, because he obviously feels like he's done wrong, which, that's up to him to portray. I don't know what he was doing at the time. I'm not him. I'm not here to judge his life. But this is his initial emotion to finding out that this young man had passed away. And this is like completely illogical anger. It is an amazing song. I love this song so much. It's one of my favorites on the album. I know it's crazy to say that with the fucking lyrics I just read. Listen to it. I'm fucked up, but I ain't as fucked up as you. You just can't get right. I think your heart made up bulletproof. Should have killed your ass a long time ago. And that's him talking to himself. Amazing song. Real quick, another song that we have, How Much a Dollar Cost. And after this we only have one more. I think Mortal Man is one of the more like on the nose. I'll talk about it a little more later. How Much a Dollar Cost. There's a bunch of different ways to interpret this. He uses religion as a way to interpret this and this, but I think this is more so about the way that capitalism leads us to demonize people who are homeless or without a home, or just struggling in the moment, because it's like, oh, this person's struggling right there, they don't have the money, it's their fault that they don't have their money, they should get a job, they should do this, they should do that. It's not my responsibility to give this person $5. They should get their own money, instead of being like, why is there such a population of homeless people that I even have this outlook of, oh, why are they here, rather than being like feeling remorse for this person. Like the fact that homelessness is so regular in our brains is a negative thing, but it is a thing that the government has put in place to make people more comfortable with capitalism. That's at least what I believe. Because he's basically saying him throughout this entire song is like, he gets a lot less like remorse. He has a lot less remorse for the homeless people that he talks to. He's like, yeah, I'm selfish, I lack empathy, all this stuff. And that's kind of the cycle of it. When you first see a homeless person, you're like, oh, I feel really bad for them, I'll give them $1. Then you see the 10th one, you're like, oh yeah, I can't give everybody $1. And then you see your 100th one, you're like, oh, this is what they want you to be like. By the way, I'm not saying everyone is like this, I'm not saying I'm like this, I'm not saying you're like this, but I'm saying the system of people who want capitalism to reign supreme, of course, they want you to be like, oh, this is the 100th homeless person I saw, this is their fault, get your own money, fuck you, you're probably a drug addict anyway. When that should never be the way we view another human being, ever, in my opinion at least. So, and I think that's what he is portraying here, rather than just being like, he uses religion as one of the examples of this, where he's like, one of the homeless people end up being God. But I don't think that's the only way like you can view this. Of course, having morality is one of the things that like Christianity brings with it, but I don't think this is just exclusive to religion. I think it's more so just morality, or like being moral in general. And I really like the way he portrays it in this, as like, it's like a slow burn of him kind of losing empathy, and you're like, oh, you see this person get farther away from being a person because this is how the system wants you to view these people, when they're just people who got dealt the wrong cards. They're just people who didn't get what they like. They are not as lucky as some of us, because some people have that opportunity to live with somebody in their family or close to until they're in their 30s. Other people don't have the opportunity. Somebody will kick you out when you're 14 years old and never talk to you again. You have nobody else to turn to. Are we right for blaming people and ostracizing people who have dealt with that in their lifetime at all. No, we're not right for that. It's just the fact that capitalism wants you to feel like you should not like these people because they don't have money and they should get their own money. Mortal Man. This is Kendrick Lamar speaking about morality, again, in a very, I'm not gonna say different, but in a different way from the rest of this album, where he's not really talking about race, systemic racism, or things like that. He's more so talking about people's emotions. For example, the refrain is like literally the chorus basically is just, when shit hit the fan, is you still a fan? Because he's trying to tell you, are you still a fan of these people that you are idolizing when things go wrong? For example, he has a big example here that I like to bring up. It's let me find it. This is where he says, how many leaders you said you need them then left them for dead? Is it Moses? Is it Huey Newton or Detroit Red? Is it Martin Luther, JFK, Shooter, you assassin? Is it Jackie? Is it Jesse? Oh, I know it's Michael Jackson. So he is speaking about, he literally says, when shit hits the fan, is you still a fan? He gave us Billie Jean. You say he touched those kids. So he's like attacking the morality of, okay, you idolize this person. Are you really no longer a fan of this person when something goes wrong or when they get an allegation? Or are you just acting that way so people do not look at you differently? Is this really how you feel? Is your morality really at that level, or are you just putting on a facade or a show? Are you acting like you're really trying to do trying to live a revolution? Are you really like Malcolm X? Are you really like any of these people? Or are you just acting that way because you don't want people to view you differently and you don't actually have those views? That is what he's speaking about in this song. It is a very straightforward way of doing it, and I love the way he does it in this song, especially with the Michael Jackson part. And then at the end of this song, he has an outro where he speaks to Tupac in an unreleased it's an unreleased interview he had with somebody back in the day, but he's speaking to Tupac, and it's a very powerful thing for him because Tupac is his favorite rapper of all time. I didn't know this was Tupac for a very long time. I found it out like when I was 17-ish. So like for like the first 3 years of me listening to this album, I didn't really know what he was talking to or talking about. I just listened to it and it was very enjoyable. But at the end he says, although the butterfly and the caterpillar are completely different, they are one and the same. What's your perspective on that? Pac. One of Kendrick's biggest things is that he wished he was able to have a conversation with Tupac Shakur. So seeing this sort of like thing is very cool to see, and also pretty sad that Tupac is probably one of the bigger versions or bigger examples of like growing up in that sort of environment leading to something that should never happen. Tupac and Biggie's beef should never have led to deaths, but because they were both in that sort of environment, that was the only answer they could come to. That was the only conclusion that they were able to come to, where it was like, we couldn't just end it with music. You went too far, so now your life has to end. So yes, Tupac is his favorite rapper, but it's still connected to the music. My final review on this album. Are y'all ready? What do you think? 9.1, 9.10. Stop. This is the best album of all time. And nobody's ever made an album this good since or before. I don't think anybody in rap will make an album ever that's ever close to this. Truly. Now, if you want to see me review other albums that you think would be close, let me know. Because I'd love to. There would be a great time. Because I love doing this type of stuff. I love doing album reviews. I'll look at the comments, because the reason why I did this is because in my last video, a lot of comments were saying that they'd love to see this. Shout out to you all. Shout out to my peoples. You know what? Real quick, I'm gonna do a very specific shout out, because this guy has commented on a few videos, and I just want to show him some recognition, some love. Pretty active subscriber, so shout out to you. And you know, since I'm early on in this shit, might as well just give an active subscriber some love. You know what I mean? It's my boy Nova Wave /J91. He said, please make the TPAB video. That would be so cool. Shit, I did it, man. I hope you like it, my boy. See y'all next time. Peace.